Say, Glenn, let's play Susan Rice's response after he was freed. Let's listen to what she said on ABC last June.
He served the United States with honor and distinction, and we'll have the opportunity eventually to learn what has transpired in the past years. But what's most important now is his health and well-being, that he have the opportunity to recover in peace and security and be reunited with his family. So,
Glenn, there was the Rose Garden event with Bergdahl's parents. There is Susan Rice served with honor and distinction, and now there is the Pentagon. Now there are reports that he may be charged with desertion. I mean, there are a lot of questions here about what the White House understood Bo Bergdahl's career in the military to be before they negotiated this, or as they welcomed him home.
I agreed with everything that E.J. said, except one small point I would differentiate on. In terms of politicizing this, when you bring Bergdahl and his family into the Rose Garden and you take to all 3 Sunday shows, to some extent you are embracing and politicizing the decision. I think the fact that the White House put this on such a high priority, in the summertime, as you recall, the president's numbers weren't very good. There weren't a lot of good news stories for him. I think they made a strategic decision at that point that this was something they wanted to highlight. And I think, frankly, it would be much less of an embarrassment if they hadn't gone on the Sunday shows or brought Bergdahl and his family into the Rose Garden. I mean, Susan Rice really, on these Sunday shows, just keeps saying stuff that keeps causing the administration problems.
Well, and independent of the Sunday shows, the Rose Garden ceremony with the president we just played, that footage is not maybe necessarily what you want to be doing. I think this has had a ripple effect, right, EJ? I mean, Alan Gross, the negotiation for his release got much more complicated, according to New York Times reporting, because of the fire that the White House was catching over Bergdahl and the sort of swirl around what he did or didn't do while he was in the military. And then, there's the ongoing question of hostage. We have Japanese hostage, Kenji Goto, who is warning that he and a Jordanian pilot being held with him have 24 hours to live unless Jordan releases a would-be suicide bomber. I mean, this is an ongoing issue for not just our country, but around the world.
Right. Well, I think, at the time, by the way, when I talked to General McChrystal, he wasn't wild either about the way the White House handled it. He thought they should get him back. They did the right thing to get him back. But I think the administration almost certainly regrets some of the optics, to put it gently, around this. I think some of it also, though, is do you do it under compulsion? Because prisoner exchanges are one thing, but to respond to you do this or else, I don't think countries want to respond to that sort of extortion, if you will, or literally hostage taking. So my hunch is we don't respond directly like that. If we were simply negotiating something that was more like an exchange of prisoners, that'd be quite different.
Yeah, and Glenn, then there's the flip side. The president has made clear a priority is closing Gitmo. There are men who have been languishing there without charges, who are effectively innocent. Getting them out of there gets more complicated because of situations like this.
Yeah, Alex, that's exactly the point I was going to make. I just think you've created a political dynamic where you've opened things up to people on the Hill in both parties who might question some of these releases at Gitmo. And, there's a lot of criticism about the exchanges and whether or not the Cubans were living up to their end of the bargain in terms of the Alan Gross situation. But again, it also points out this dissonance that you've seen time and time again between the West Wing, the White House, and the Pentagon. Different information flowing out of one building, different information from another. It seems oftentimes that they're not only on the same page, but that the White House, in this case the National Security Advisor, wasn't getting the kind of information necessary from the Pentagon so that she wouldn't embarrass herself on national television.
One would assume that